Mulag was born into hardship. His tribe, the Iron Claws, were but a splinter of the once mighty horde. They scraped a living from the harsh lands, constantly battling hunger, the elements, and rival tribes. Mulag knew only survival.
He grew strong, fighting for scraps, his heart hardened by the unforgiving wilderness.
He quickly rose above his peers. He was bigger, stronger, faster. His victories in the training grounds were swift and brutal. The elders saw promise in the young orc.
He was destined for greatness, they whispered. Mulag, however, cared little for destiny. He lived moment to moment, driven by instinct and ambition.
One day, while scouting a rival tribe's territory, Mulag stumbled upon an ancient ruin. Half buried in the mud and overgrown with vines was a stone archway, its surface etched with strange symbols. He felt a pull, a whisper from the earth itself, urging him closer.
He entered the ruin alone, unafraid. He was Mulag, and fear was a luxury he could not afford.
The air within the ruin was heavy, almost suffocating, as if the very atmosphere was laden with the weight of centuries past. The scent of decay was pervasive, mingling with the faint, almost imperceptible aroma of ancient, forgotten magic. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, where the past and present coexisted in a delicate, eerie balance, thick with the musk of decay and forgotten magic. Mulag ventured deeper, his every step echoing through the desolate halls. The walls, once grand and imposing, now crumbled and decayed, whispered secrets of a bygone era. Shadows danced in the corners as if the spirits of the past were watching his every move, drawn by an unseen force. He reached a chamber, its entrance framed by ancient weathered stone. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding settled over him, yet he pressed on, driven by a compulsion he could not understand. The chamber was vast, its ceiling lost in darkness, and the walls seemed to close in around him, its walls adorned with faded murals depicting orcs of old wielding terrible power. These murals, though worn and faded, still conveyed a sense of awe and dread. They told stories of battles long forgotten, of warriors who had once commanded the very forces of nature. Mulag could almost hear the clash of weapons, the cries of victory and defeat, echoing through the ages.
In the center lay a stone pedestal, its surface covered in intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. The pedestal was a stark contrast to the decay around it, as if it had been preserved by some ancient, powerful magic. Upon it rested a staff, its presence commanding and ominous. The staff seemed to absorb the light around it, creating an aura of darkness that was both mesmerizing and terrifying, crafted from a material blacker than night. It was as if the very essence of darkness had been forged into this weapon. The staff was adorned with symbols and runes that glowed faintly, hinting at the immense power contained within. As he neared the staff, a sense of anticipation filled the air. The symbols on its surface began to glow brighter, reacting to his presence. It was as if the staff recognized him, acknowledged him as its rightful bearer. The symbols on its surface began to glow, casting an eerie light that illuminated the chamber. The glow was hypnotic, drawing Mulag closer, compelling him to reach out and claim the staff.
Mulag felt a surge of power, raw and untamed, coursing through his veins. He grasped the staff, its touch sending a jolt of energy through him. The power was overwhelming, almost too much to bear, yet he held on, determined to master it, its touch sending a jolt of energy through him. The energy was unlike anything he had ever felt before, a primal force that seemed to resonate with his very soul. It was as if the staff was awakening something deep within him, something ancient and powerful. Visions flooded his mind, armies kneeling before him, cities burning, the world trembling at his feet. These visions were vivid and intense, showing him a future where he wielded unimaginable power. He saw himself leading legions of warriors, conquering lands and reshaping the world according to his will. The world trembling at his feet. The visions were intoxicating, filling him with a sense of purpose and destiny. He realized that this was his fate, to become a being of immense power, a force to be reckoned with.
He understood then. The staff was not just a weapon, it was a key to unlocking his true potential. It was a conduit to a power that had been waiting for him, calling to him from the depths of time. This was no mere weapon. It was a symbol of his destiny, a tool that would enable him to achieve greatness. The staff's glow intensified as if responding to his realization. This was the Staff of Power, an artifact of legend whispered about in hushed tones around dying campfires. It was said to be a relic from a time when magic was pure and untainted, a time when the world was still young and full of wonder. an artifact of legend whispered about in hushed tones around dying campfires. The stories spoke of its ability to grant its wielder unparalleled power, to bend reality to their will. It was a prize sought by many but claimed by few. It was a conduit to a dark and ancient magic, a power that could reshape the world. This magic was not to be taken lightly. It was a force that could bring about great change, for better or worse, a power that could reshape the world. The visions showed him the potential of this power, the ways in which he could use it to create a new world, a world where he reigned supreme.
Mulag emerged from the ruin changed. He was no longer the same warrior who had entered. He was now something more, something greater. The power of the staff had transformed him, both physically and mentally. He was no longer just a warrior. He was a vessel of power, a harbinger of destruction. The energy of the staff coursed through him, giving him strength and confidence. He felt invincible, ready to take on any challenge that lay ahead. He was a vessel of power, a harbinger of destruction. The whispers in the deep had chosen their champion, and he would not disappoint them. He would wield the staff of power with skill and determination, reshaping the world in his image. The whispers in the deep had chosen their champion. They had seen something in him, something that set him apart from all others. They had bestowed upon him a great gift, and with it a great responsibility, and he would not disappoint them. With the staff of power in his grasp, Mulag set out to fulfill his destiny. He would become a legend, a name spoken in awe and fear for generations to come. The world would never be the same again. The transformation was immediate. The air around Mulag seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly energy, as if the very fabric of reality was bending to his newfound power. Mulag's eyes blazed with arcane energy. His voice resonated with newfound authority. It was as if the ancient spirits of the orcish ancestors had chosen him as their vessel, imbuing him with a strength and wisdom that transcended mortal understanding. He challenged the chieftain of the Iron Claws, not for personal gain, but for the destiny of his people. The challenge was not just a physical confrontation, but a clash of ideologies, a battle for the soul of the tribe.
The earth trembled as they fought, the very air crackling with the power of the staff. Each strike of Mulag's weapon sent shockwaves through the ground, a testament to the raw, untamed power he now wielded. The chieftain, old and weary, was no match for Mulag's newfound might. His once formidable strength had waned with age, and the years of battle had taken their toll on his body and spirit. He fell, defeated, acknowledging the shift in power. With a heavy heart, he accepted his fate, knowing that the time had come for a new leader to rise and guide the tribe.
Mulag, now chieftain, did not revel in the victory. He stood solemnly, understanding the weight of the responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. He had a grander vision, a vision that extended beyond the immediate triumph, one that encompassed the future of all orcish kind. He would unite the fractured orc tribes, not through diplomacy, but through conquest. He believed that only through strength and unity could the orcs reclaim their former glory and secure their place in the world.
He led the Iron Claws on a campaign of subjugation. With each victory, his reputation grew, and the legend of Mulag spread like wildfire across the land. Tribe after tribe fell before his might. The once proud and independent orcish clans found themselves bowing to the indomitable will of Mulag. Some resisted, clinging to old rivalries. They fought fiercely, unwilling to submit to what they saw as an oppressive force. They were crushed beneath the Iron Claw, their defiance a fleeting ember extinguished beneath a storm of steel and shadow. The battlefield became a testament to Mulag's relentless pursuit of unity and strength.
Others, sensing the undeniable power that emanated from Mulag, bent the knee. They recognized that resistance was futile, and that aligning with Mulag was the only path to survival and prosperity. They saw in him not just a conqueror, but a savior, a leader who could guide them through the chaos and into a new era of strength and dominance, one who would lead them out of the desolate wilderness and into a new age of orcish dominance. Mulag's vision was clear, and his resolve unbreakable. He would stop at nothing to see his people rise to greatness, forging a legacy that would be remembered for generations to come. With each victory, Mulag's power grew. His influence spread like a dark cloud over the land, casting a shadow that seemed to stretch endlessly. The orc warriors, emboldened by their leader's strength, fought with a ferocity that was unmatched. They revelled in their triumphs, their spirits lifted by the promise of more conquest to come. The staff of power fed on conflict, on the fear and despair of his enemies. It was an ancient artifact, imbued with dark magic that thrived on chaos. Each battle, each cry of terror only made it stronger. The staff pulsed with a malevolent energy, a beacon of Mulag's unyielding might. His legends spread like wildfire. Stories of his conquests travelled far and wide, whispered in hushed tones around campfires and in the halls of kings. The name Mulag became synonymous with fear, a spectre that haunted the dreams of those who dared to oppose him. He was the unifier, the bringer of storms, the Shadow Lord. Titles that spoke of his power and his destiny. He was a force of nature, unstoppable and relentless. The orcs saw him as their savior, the one who would lead them to glory and dominance over all other races.
He cared little for titles, but they served his purpose. They were tools to inspire loyalty and fear, to rally his warriors and intimidate his enemies. Mulag was a pragmatic leader, always focused on the end goal. He knew that power was not just about strength, but also about perception. They sowed terror in the hearts of his enemies and bolstered the morale of his ever-growing horde. The sight of fleeing villages and burning settlements was a testament to their might. Each victory was a step closer to their ultimate goal, total domination.
The human kingdoms, complacent in their prosperity, took little notice of the growing storm in the east. They were blinded by their own success, unable to see the threat that was slowly encroaching upon their borders. Their cities were filled with laughter and celebration, oblivious to the danger that loomed. They dismissed the tales of orcish unity as barbaric exaggeration. The warnings of scouts and travellers were ignored, seen as nothing more than the ramblings of frightened peasants. The rulers of these kingdoms believed themselves invincible, their armies unbeatable. They clung to treaties signed generations ago, blind to the shifting tides of power. These ancient agreements, once symbols of peace and stability, had become shackles that bound them to a false sense of security. They believed that the old alliances would protect them, not realizing that the world had changed. They would soon learn their folly. The storm was coming, and it would not be stopped by words on parchment. The orcs were no longer the scattered tribes of old. They were a united force, driven by a common purpose and led by a warlord of unparalleled power.
The first human settlement to face Mulag's wrath was a frontier town named Oakhaven. It was a quiet place, nestled on the edge of the kingdom, far from the centers of power. The people of Oakhaven lived simple lives, unaware of the darkness that was about to descend upon them. It fell in a single night, its defenses crumbling before the relentless onslaught. The orcs attacked with a fury that was terrifying to behold. The walls of Oakhaven, once thought impregnable, were reduced to rubble. The defenders fought bravely, but they were no match for the might of Mulag's horde. The orcs, fueled by years of resentment and the intoxicating power of the staff, showed no mercy. They cut down anyone who stood in their way, their eyes burning with a fierce determination. The battle was over almost as soon as it began, leaving behind a scene of utter devastation.
They slaughtered indiscriminately, leaving behind a smouldering ruin as a testament to the Shadow Lord's might. The world finally understood. The age of complacency was over, and a new era had begun. The orcs were no longer a distant threat. They were a force to be reckoned with. The age of the orc had begun. The world watched in fear as Mulag's horde marched forward, their eyes set on new targets. The kingdoms that had once dismissed them now scrambled to prepare for the inevitable. The tide of shadows was rising, and there was no stopping it.